listeners in the Tampa Bay area have made a very wise choice again this afternoon. A guest on the telephone, don't you know? Phyllis Schlafly, the cute and cuddly Phyllis Schlafly of Eagle Forum fame, is my guest in the first portion of the program. Phyllis, a very good afternoon to you.
Well, good afternoon to you.
You're celebrating a 20th anniversary of your publication, the Phyllis Schlafly Report?
Indeed, I can hardly believe it.
Hardly believe it. Why is that, Phyllis?
Well, I started out 20 years ago with my little newsletter at a subscription of $5 a year. I never dreamed it would be going for 20 years.
How much is the subscription now?
It's now up to 15. That's inflation.
Inflation, yeah. Or, well, whatever the traffic will bear, I guess. Right, Phyllis?
Well, it's still a best buy in print, I think.
God, I hope you haven't put your money in the market. Dare say that you're correct on that, but, thanking God for the bomb, Phyllis? Come on.
Well, of course, the scientists had a lot to do with it, but I think it was very fortuitous that it came first to the United States and gave us the opportunity to use it for peace. Winston Churchill once said there wouldn't have been a free man left in Western Europe if it were not for the American nuclear umbrella.
Now, you're pretty sure that God was the key factor on us getting it first.
Well, I said we should. I didn't say it that way. I said we should thank God that we got it first.
Well, I would assume if you're on a thanking, you therefore assume he had something to do with it.
Well, certainly let it happen.
Oh, okay. Phyllis, you have almost single-handedly convinced the women of America to remain second-class citizens. Any regrets about that one?
Well, I don't know what women you know who think they're second class. I certainly don't think I'm second class. I think I've accomplished a great deal and shown what women can do in a free society, such as the right to be exempt from the military draft. ERA came out in 1972. We'd just been through a difficult wartime experience. Millions of young men were drafted. The Draft Act is the classic discriminatory law. It says male citizens of age 18 must register. And it blows my mind to think that anybody would believe that it's an improvement for women to change that from male citizens to persons and thereby draft young women, too.
Well, don't you feel that women should also contribute to the country?
But not that way.
Why not?
Because the record of all history shows us that wars are best fought and won by young men. That's why they call it selective service. They don't take everybody.
Well, exactly. They wouldn't have taken all women either.
Those who are best qualified to serve, and the ones who are best qualified are the healthy young men.
Well, of course, that's exactly the point. But one of the major thrusts of your argument was that they would be drafting women and putting them into battle.
If we had ERA, that's true.
Well, no, it wouldn't be. Phyllis, you know better than that. Come on, give me a break. They don't put wimpish men in battle. They only put the strongest men in battle, right?
No,
and they put the wimpish men back there, with the typewriters.
They put all kinds of wimpish men in battle, and they train them to kill. That's what the Army's all about. But let me tell
Phyllis, you just got finished telling me.
Let me explain something to you. I debated this issue for 10 years, and not a single one of my opponents ever denied the truth of the statement that ERA would require the drafting of women and putting them in military combat.
You've just run into the first one in 10 years, Phyllis. You've just run into I don't know who the other buffoons that you were talking with were, but as you had already said earlier in this conversation, Phyllis, it is selective service where you put the strongest young men in battle.
No, it isn't the strongest young men. It's the healthy young men, primarily in the ages 18 to 26. But all of the advocates of the ERA for all those years said, yes, they wanted women drafted. And yes, equality did mean that. And they wanted it. And of course the women saying that were
I have no problem with drafting women.
over draft age and didn't have any daughters. So they wanted somebody else's daughters to pay for their equality.
As a matter of fact, there was a Republican president who suggested universal military service for both men and women. Dwight David Eisenhower.
Well, let me tell you, we elected Ronald Reagan, who's for the volunteer military. So if you're against the draft, you ought to be an enthusiastic fan of Ronald Reagan.
Well, I'm not against a universal draft. I'm quite in favor of a universal draft. I am against a selective draft. That, I think, is ludicrous.
Fancy.
Assured mutual destruction, right, Phyllis? When the two of us find a way around each other's system.
That's the Carter administration.
It's the policy of the Reagan administration.
Assured mutual destruction.
It's the policy of the Reagan administration, Phyllis.
Assured mutual destruction, or mutual assured destruction, known as MAD.
Right, the exact same policy Reagan has.
Is trying to get us give us a different system, which is assured mutual survival. It's simply a matter of whether you believe in saving lives or whether you believe in killing people.
Phyllis, you've already told me that you fully expect the Soviets to find a way around it, just as we are expected to find a way around theirs, which puts us right back at what?
No.
Mutual assured destruction. It's a policy of the Reagan administration. The only policy this man has is to give defense contractors in California some new money.
Sink in, you would find that SDI can't
Are you calling me stupid, Phyllis? Phyllis, are you implying that I'm a stupid man?
No, but I'm implying that you talk more than you have something to say.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Now, you just be still and listen. SDI
Phyllis, it says the Bob Lassiter. Phyllis, it says the Bob Lassiter show on the top of the paper here. I hold conversations. I don't listen to lectures.
The difference in this conversation is that you're getting paid for your talk, and I'm doing you a favor by being on your program.
Well, I'm also doing you a favor, Phyllis, by helping you sell your newsletter.
Well, that's a good idea. Let me tell people how to get my newsletter. How about that?
Sure, fine.
They can write. They don't even have to spell Schlafly. They can write to Eagle Forum, Alton, Illinois, Alton, Illinois, 62002. And I'll be happy to send them my report on SDI or any of these other subjects we've talked about.
Excellent. We'll be delighted to let you give that address out again numerous times.
Good.
Even a phone number if you'd like, so that they can get in touch even faster.
Well, the mail will do.
Oh, the mail will do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we seem to have run into a little bit of a roadblock here as to what the Reagan policy is. I would seem to think it's the exact same thing, since we already have agreed, Phyllis, you and I, that the space shield will be defeated by both sides and therefore become...
No, I didn't agree to that at all. I said the Soviets would try.
I see. We're going to defeat theirs, but they're not going to defeat ours.
Technology, I think if we want to, we can certainly stay ahead of the Soviets.
I see. Well, of course, they'll probably steal it.
Well,
or we'll sell it to them.
They'll steal everything they can get by with stealing. That's right.
So they will steal the technology, they will steal the secrets to our system, and, of course, defeat it.
That doesn't defeat it. You see, if we have our system built, we really don't care what they do. Because if we have a system that will shoot down their weapons when they come at us, we really don't care what kind of a system they have.
By the way, where's the money supposed to come from for this system, Phyllis?
It comes out of that great thing called the defense budget.
Right, which we refuse to finance.
This country finances a big defense budget, and SDI is a very, very small. I mean, it's like 2% of the whole budget.
Well, that's besides the point. So is money for black girls having babies a very small portion of the budget. But nonetheless, the money's just not there.
Well,
so you want to add even more to the debt.
If you want to put it there. And
well, he doesn't. He doesn't want to raise taxes. He doesn't want to pay for anything, and apparently you don't either.
I want to pay for a strong defense because I think that's the first job of government.
Well, great. When are you going to write to Ronald Reagan and ask him to raise taxes to pay for that defense?
No. We take it out of something else.
Like what?
Anything else, because nothing is as important as defending ourselves against the enemy.
Well, again, Phyllis, I have to take another break. When I come back from that break, let's discuss where we might cut in the federal budget to pay for that strong defense.
Other than they are, then we pay for defense.
Phyllis, I just proved to you that that's impossible. The money's not there.
Under the Kennedy administration, the defense was 50% of the budget, and it's way down.
Kennedy's dead. That was almost 30 years ago now, Phyllis. We're talking here and now today. And I think that you just agreed with the figures that I gave you.
That there's no way to cut the federal budget.
Well, Phyllis, you just agreed with the figures that I gave you that would indicate that all of the other spending that the federal government does comes out of that last third. So it couldn't possibly be a third of the money going to the Health and Human Services Department, could it?
Well, it certainly can. There are certainly just 1,000 ways it can be cut.
Yeah, and there's just 1,000 ways you can make up figures, too, to make your point, even though they don't add up.
Well, I don't know what point you're trying to make.
The point I'm trying to make is that the point that I'm trying to make, Phyllis, if you're interested, is that you just made up a number as you were going along that has no bearing on reality whatsoever. That's the point I was trying to make.
I didn't make up any numbers. You're the one who provided all the numbers.
You're the one that said that the Human Services budget was equal to the Defense Department budget, which isn't true.
It is my position that the number one job of government is to defend this nation against attack, and the money should go first for that, and after that, everything else.
Thank you, Phyllis. Let's take some calls. Don in Tampa, hi, you're on the air at WFLA.
Yes, I've really been interested in Ms. Schlafly, and I have two questions for her. Number one, if you eliminate Planned Parenthood, which goes a little bit further to your argument, who will take care of these children that are born in those circumstances, and why aren't there any indications from you and other people who share your view that anything would be done for these people?
Well, Planned Parenthood doesn't take care of babies.
Well, I'm asking what you would do, not what Planned Parenthood would do. You would decimate it, from what I understand.
Planned Parenthood is an organization that teaches
ma'am, I know
how to be
that.
promiscuous.
I'm asking you, what provisions would you make for the children, absent some kind of governmental support there?
This country has an enormous welfare service that takes care of thousands upon thousands of poor people. It is just enormous what the taxpayers are paying for.
Ma'am, would you please respond to the question? What would you do?
The first responsibility falls on the parents. I would require the parents to take care of them in the first instance.
And you would recognize, would you not, that in many instances the child is a product of parents who do not care any whit about that child, and that's the reason Planned Parenthood has come into being, to take steps to eliminate that.
Planned Parenthood does not take care of the children. Planned Parenthood does not take care of the children. I feel the fathers of those children should...
Well, what do you do when the father can't or won't do that? Who takes care of those children now that you would take away protections that society has from overrunning the country with unwanted children?
It is society's responsibility to take care of children whose parents can't or won't take care of them.
Right.
Well, that sounds great, Phyllis. That really sounds great.
Yeah, it sure does. Now you're telling us that you would eliminate an agency that would go toward reducing the number of children who would be the responsibility of society.
No, I didn't.
You want it both ways. You want to reduce. You want to eliminate the agency. And not take care of the children.
I did not tell you that, because there isn't a shred of evidence that Planned Parenthood reduces the number of children.
Ma'am,
only evidence is that they increase the number of illegitimate children.
Well, Phyllis, as a matter of fact, hold on one second there, caller. Well, let me present to you, Phyllis, a shred of evidence. You're talking to a man who, through the facilities of Planned Parenthood, had a vasectomy about 11 years ago. So there's a shred of evidence that Planned Parenthood...
You mean you didn't pay for it yourself?
Yes, I did. I paid $175 for it.
I hope the taxpayers didn't pay for it.
No, they didn't. I paid $175 for it, Phyllis, and I have a receipt. No, it's not irrelevant. I got it through Planned Parenthood, Phyllis, so there is a shred of evidence that they have reduced the population.
Okay, well,
and the final thing is, what I'd like to ask you, we're really getting nowhere.
Providing you with that service.
They didn't, Phyllis. I'll repeat it for you one more time. Apparently you're having a little difficulty hearing. I paid for it, but I got it through Planned Parenthood. $175. I have a receipt.
If they can make money on you, they don't need the taxpayers' money.
I see.
Well, the second question is, obviously, we're not going to get anywhere on this question, or any others probably. But what I would like to know, Phyllis, is why are you so angry, and what are you angry about?
No, I'm not angry.
You seem to have everything against the females getting ahead in the world, and I just don't understand the attitudes that you have. And I've followed your career for a long time with amazement, I might add, and a great deal of puzzlement.
You haven't heard one angry statement from me, but you've heard a lot of angry talk from the host of this show.
Well, if
they call me Mad Dog Lassiter, Phyllis.
Right. See, they don't call me that because I'm calm all the time.
They also call me Top Banana.
Well, you sound like you're a very restrained, controlled individual.
Absolutely. I believe in being restrained and controlled.
And probably
that's the trouble with a lot of people today. They're not restrained and controlled.
Were you being restrained and controlled when you told me to, hold tight there, Phyllis? Sounded to me like you're getting a little out of hand.
That's right. Didn't have to raise my voice to do it.
Bob, I tell you, you're a beacon voice in this area. Keep it up. And I think you should have more antagonists like her on the program. But please have some people who express our viewpoints as well, would you?
Take care, Don.
Thank you.
Tom in Tampa, hi, you're on the air at WFLA.
Yeah, I have some very strong points of view on what was being said about the armed services and the military.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think that there's no reason that women can't serve their country.
Well, that's right. If they want to volunteer, they can go sign up.
Well,
a lot of them are serving. I urge everybody who shares that point of view to rush to the nearest recruiting office and send crabs telling them what to do.
Oh, no, I'm not saying, I don't believe in socialism or communism either. But I certainly think we're giving it away. We're going to allow socialism and communism to come in, just like it's taken over in Russia and taken over in the Latin America.
Well, let me see if I can't jump in here and perhaps draw the two sides a little bit closer to an understanding as to what you're trying to say, Gene. I believe what Gene is saying, Phyllis, is that he thinks that U.S. Steel should be in the business of steel making, that General Motors should be in the business of car making, and they should not be in the business of stock market speculation.
Well, I agree with that, but then comes the question of how you're going to enforce what you think. Do you think what you and I think should be made the law for how they behave?
It seemed to serve us very well for an awfully long time in this country. It's how General Motors got so big. It's how U.S. Steel got so big. When they were involved in their businesses instead of speculating in the stock of other different corporations.
Well, I think you make a good point, but then it comes to, are you going to give to some government official a right to tell them that?
Phyllis, have you ever heard of the Antichrist?
I've heard of him, yes.
Well, we have something in the Tampa Bay area known as the Anti-Schlafly. Allow me to introduce you to Carolyn from Newport Richey. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
It's a pleasure to hear Mrs. Schlafly again. I, too, have followed your career for many years, and your statements in public have had to be backtracked and explained every single time you've made one. I have a question for you regarding a recent statement you made. When Surgeon General Koop brought out his plan to graphically educate school children on the threat of AIDS and the manner in which it's contracted, you said that this was teaching sodomy to school children. Would you please explain that statement?
Yes, in his famous report, which is a published report, which he stands behind, and I have a copy of, he said that he would teach in the early elementary grades the risk behaviors by which people get AIDS. Now, the principal risk behavior by which AIDS is transmitted is sodomy. And he further then gave an interview to the Village Voice in which he said he had discussed sodomy with his 9-year-old grandson. So apparently he thinks that's the way to go.
My dear...
I agree that he can tell his grandson whatever he wants to, but he should not be permitted to tell our 9-year-old grandsons that.
Well, I have news for you, Miss Schlafly. There are people out here like myself who can spell your last name, and we believe that the Surgeon General, in his statement, made it very clear that there is a hell of a big difference between telling a 9-year-old grandson or child in the public school system about the manner in which this deadly disease is transmitted and, quote, teaching sodomy, unquote. And if you don't understand that with your degrees, then you're a bigger airhead than I thought you were.
Well, everything that I said about him was taken directly from his published statements.
You're an absolute ass. Thank you very much.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry about that, Phyllis. We better recover here and take a short break.
Don't you have one of those pause buttons to cut people like that off?
Well, we let words like that go out here. I'll put you on hold. We'll take a break, and I'll regain our breath here and continue with the conversation. Sure, Phyllis, I must break in at this point because I'm just fresh out of time for this hour. Phyllis, you're going to stay with me in the second hour, aren't you?
No, I can only stay 1 hour, but let me get my address again.
Sure, but you initially agreed to 2. Okay, sure.
No, I didn't. I never agreed to 2 hours.
Okay.
Eagle Forum is Alton, Illinois, 62002.
That being done, thanks, Phyllis. Don't go far. Oh, in Tampa. Hi, Marco. You're on the air.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Lazarus.
Yes, Lazarus.
Yes. Right. I just wanted to express my opinion and listen.
Bud Lazarus.
I just want to congratulate Miss.
Why?
It will be fantastic if they do that. To increase the defense.
Sure, well, I'm worried it's like you running around.
That's what we need.
Oh, really? Why is that, Marco?
Why is that? Well, we need the defense to, hey, nothing wrong with defense.
Marco, do you have any idea how much money the federal government last year spent on Planned Parenthood? Do you have any idea at all, Marco?
Well, let me just say this.
Do you have any idea at all, Marco? Any idea at all? Take a guess, Marco. Take a guess.
Hey, well,
take a guess, Marco. Go on. Take a guess. Because you don't know, Marco, do you? You haven't the vaguest damned idea. You heard some buffoon out in Illinois say that, well, we could help pay for the military budget by cutting out what we give to Planned Parenthood. You don't even know what we give. Would you like to know, Marco?
Would you
like to know? Would you like to know, Marco?
Okay, well, go ahead, tell me.
Roughly $150 million.
Roughly, $150 million.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And
Do you have any idea what the budget deficit is, Marco? It's 1,000 times that. It's 1,000 times that amount of money.
Not as near as the Russians, though. Not as near as the Russians.
What the hell does that mean? Now, the Russians are part of Planned Parenthood?
No, but we need the defense. We need to build up the defense. They are not going to
build up the defense.
Their philosophy is to conquer.
And, no, it's not their philosophy, Marco. Do you know what their philosophy is, Marco? Do you have any idea what their philosophy is?
I don't know what their point of view are.
No, you don't, Marco.
Well, how can they continue to spread?
Their philosophy is not to conquer, Marco. Their philosophy is that the workers of the world will revolt and throw over the capitalists and turn to them. That's what their philosophy is, Marco. But you didn't know that either, did you?
Oh, of course.
Do you know anything, Marco? Marco, who helped you dial the phone today to get in on this program?
Oh, I love when you get negative and you just cutting in just to defend yourself.
I know most people do, Marco. It's why it's the most, highest rated talk show in the area.
Oh. But anyway, just let me tell you that she is an excellent person, and
sure, even if she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about either, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, you want to put it that way, that's fine with me, man. But you with your liberal point of view.
Yeah, liberal point of view.
Yeah, you do have, supporting all this.
Well, if sticking to the facts and the truth of the matter has anything to do with being a liberal, then I suppose I would like to join the liberal camp.
Oh, well.
If dealing with reality has anything to do with being a liberal, then, put me in with the liberals, please. And if being somebody who just makes things up as they're going along makes you a conservative, then I will never be a conservative.
We have to definitely stand. And
right.
That's right.
Don't know what you're talking about, but you got a definite stand. Yeah. I don't know what the philosophy. I don't know what this costs. I don't know, but boy, I'm sure for it. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to express that I'm in favor of her points of view.
Marco, there's not a doubt in my mind about it after chatting with you.
Oh, okay.
Your kind of girl, isn't she?
Oh, no, not at all.
Right. Well, she's not your kind of girl. I thought she was.
What?
I thought you said she was your kind of girl.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't mind going out with a girl like that, too, either.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind at all. Just,
in addition to being against the truth, I guess you're against sex, too.
Oh, no, not at all.
Well, you don't want to go out with Phyllis.
I plan to get married.
You plan to get married?
Yes. And I think sex within marriage is fine. Now, outside of marriage, that's how we have all this problem.
Oh, Marco, are you ever in for some surprises?
Oh.
Outside of marriage is about the only place you'll find sex.
Oh. Well, that's why the distorted thinking leads you to believe that way.
No, it's what a couple of marriages have led me to believe.
Oh, no. It's that you distorted thinking and people like...
I don't get any at all, Marco.
All right.
I haven't had any since... Well, the minute I slipped the ring on her finger.
Well, have a good day.
How can I possibly have a good day, Marco? Now you guys know why I'm so grumpy all the time. Hello? Actually, you're on the air.
Hey, I thought it would be a while after the news. I thought I'd give you an idea of what happened the other evening on Sheldon Road. Two girls were hit in the back by a drunk driver, and they held the guy there, by telling him to stay, and he went to the bathroom in the middle of the road, and he had excrement all over the back of his shirt, and the policeman came, and he knew the guy was drinking. He put down on the report he was drinking. The girl said, you need to take a breathalyzer on him or a blood test. They went off in the ambulance to the hospital, and and I'd like everybody to realize their teenagers are on the street when this policeman just let him go home. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I haven't the vaguest idea what you're talking about, Dee. I'm not familiar with the story.
You don't know what I'm talking about, but did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, what do you think of that?
Well, Dee, do you think I'm in favor of allowing drunks to just go home? Did you have any reason to suspect that I might be in favor of that?
No, but do you understand that
then
that's
why did you
the
ask
law?
me?
I'm just telling you that that's the law now in Tampa, that it's up to the judgment of the policeman. And I don't know, if everybody knows the laws in Tampa when they move here or if they live here, you don't always know the laws. That you can get hit by a drunk driver and they don't take him in, and they don't need to check their blood or breathalyzer test. They don't have to. So you're on the road again another 20 minutes with the same drunk driver.
Well, Dee, you're asking me to comment on something about which I have heard but one side of the story. I can't possibly begin to.
That's why I said it, though. I mean, you heard this side, and I think now your listeners have heard it, and now I've been through talking to several policemen about it and sheriffs, and evidently it's true. It's up to the judgment of the officer. And they can just go merrily on their way and drive their car away and hit
Well,
somebody
frankly,
else.
I think I would be more inclined to trust the judgment of an officer who is trained in such matters than a crowd who gathered.
Drunk driver, would you want that drunk driver still on the road?
What do you think my answer is going to be, Dee?
Well, that's this.
Why do you keep asking these stupid questions?
Well, it's only stupid if you don't know the answer. If you know the answer, and then the law is stupid, isn't it? That's why I'm telling you about this. This does exist in Tampa, and you should be alarmed about it, and so should everybody else that's got kids and adults driving around, and that officer let them go. And that's why I'm calling in, because most people don't know this.
Well, I guess they do now, Dee.
That's exactly right, and that's why I called in.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
I guess about 2-3 months ago, I caught your show, and although I rarely ever agree with what you have to say, I listen to you constantly because you're the most interesting thing on TV.
Stop the presses. Ronnie says he's not going to take any of the blame for lower prices on Wall Street. Is this the same Ronald Wilson Reagan who ran around the country for the last 7 years saying, well, if you want to know how well I'm doing, look at the prices on Wall Street? Guess it is the same one. 1:32 the time. A couple of lines open. They're both in Pinellas, 461 WFLA 461-9352. Lassiter feeling extra feisty today. Taking on all calls, all topics. Renee in Tampa. Hi, you're on the air at WFLA.
Hey, Lassiter.
Yes, Renee.
How you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Good. You know, Lassiter, I want to say a few things. May I say a few things?
Sure.
Last Friday's show with Lionel and Captain Jack.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I liked it.
Good.
It was a lot better this time. They didn't fight or nothing. You know, it's close to show you that Captain Jack, he's pretty level-head guy after all.
Yes, his head was very level.
Yeah, it wasn't, you know, it was pretty good. I liked that.
Sheared right off
And
under a
also,
bridge
one
or
more
something.
thing, the ratings come in yet, or?
Yes, they did, Renee.
And how you come out, good?
Very good, thank you.
Well, that's good. You know why? Because I tell you a couple of things. Like you said, you hit a sour note the other day when you hit it in the radio. You talk about a lot of people interested in masturbation and all these other kind of crazy subjects. You understand what I mean?
Yes, very well. That's why my ratings are so good.
Yeah, well, you know, like was cutting the grass. You know, I had one of my customers. I'm a yard man. And I told her, look, I'll trim your hedges in a few minutes because I speak to Lassiter. And she listens to you, too. A lot of my customers do that.
Good.
But anyhow, one more thing, and I'll leave you alone, Buck, because I know you're busy. This lady that you talked to today, what's her name?
Phyllis Schlafly, yeah.
Yeah. What is she? She writes a lot of subjects or matter about women that they don't do nothing.
Well, she puts out a newsletter called the Phyllis Schlafly Report that she sells to a lot of people who aren't interested in the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, she that's one thing about you, man.
It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like Mother Goose for adults.
It's a bunch of baloney, man. That's a wimp.
One word for it.
That's a wimp, that woman. I can tell you that right now, and I'm not that smart. Believe me, I'm not. But what can I say? You know, I'm not ashamed. But she don't have nothing. I'll tell you that. Bobby, I'll listen to you a lot and keep up the good work, man.
Thank you, Renee.
Bye-bye.
The first two times were when he was a 16-year-old school kid. He won $16 one day at the horse track and quit his job sweeping up the horse track and went back the second day and lost it all. He didn't gamble again until he was 41 years old, when he then stood in front of a slot machine and won $500.
Whoa!
Yeah. And came back to the room. It was on a cruise ship. I came back to the room and I threw the money up into the air and I said, this is the greatest day of my life. And it was the greatest day of my life until I started, driving home after the weekend cruise, thinking about what went through my mind, how I behaved as I stood there with my I actually had a little step. It was boom, pull the trigger, step back, dance, dance. Boom, pull the trigger, step back, dance, dance. And the sweat and all the people standing around me and the excitement as the silver dollars kept trickling down into the trough. And it suddenly dawned on me that I didn't like what I had been doing when I stood back and watched myself. Scared the hell out of me.
Certainly.
And consequently, and I'm being very moralistic here. I'm pulling, an I know better than you. 90-9352. Tommy in Tampa, you're on the air, WFLA.
How you doing, Bob?
Fine, Tommy.
By the way, this is Tommy from
Tampa.
Yeah. Speaking of race,
Want to tell us how old you are, how many grandchildren you have, and where you're from originally?
well, I'm 24. I have no grandchildren. I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Bob?
No, that's all that they usually... Well, have you had any major operations recently?
Not yet.
Okay.
Anyways, yesterday, when Reagan was asked about the stock market, did you see that? He started looking around for Nancy, because she usually whispers an answer or something. He was lost. So he started trying to pretend like he couldn't hear over the helicopter.
Well, we just heard in the 1:30 news that he now says, "Hey, don't blame me for falling stock prices," and yet he took credit for them when they were going up. I don't understand.
Well, he blurted out something like, "Well, they're just trying to make a profit."
He kept saying, the proof of how well I'm doing are, the bull market. That's the proof of how well my economic policies work.
Right.
I don't understand why the proof of how well they fail is not also the stock market. But, hey, what do I know? I just do a talk show.
I'm burned out on the stock market. Anyways, what I called about, Bob, was I was reading this magazine. I saw an article. I just thought I'd pass it on. The Hayton, the guy you had on yesterday?
Yeah.
The National Federation for Decency. I was just looking. I seen that Dr. Ruth was a spokesman for a soft drink company, and they canned Dr. Ruth because the National Federation for Decency was on their back. Was giving them.
But it is.
It sounds ridiculous to me, Bob, because I just don't see how Dr. Ruth's really that indecent. I think there's more.
Well, Dr. Ruth has nothing to do with child pornography, as Mr. Caton tried to tell us. That was the thrust of his organization, if I can use that word, thrust. I would probably object to it.
Well, it seems to me like she's trying to, help the public or whatever.
Well, exactly. The National Federation for Decency and people like Mr. Caton are just so uptight about sexuality that they can't even deal with a legitimate sex therapist giving advice to people. They would rather people live in ignorance.
Well, all she does anyways is say, go to a proctologist or something like that, But anyways, the only thing I got one thing I liked about whatever her name, Schlafly or whatever her name was that you had on earlier.
Yeah, Phyllis Schlafly.
Well, she's got the sexiest voice we've heard so far on your show today, Bob.
Well, she looks just like Minnie Pearl, though. She really does. She bears a very strong resemblance to Minnie Pearl.
All right,
in fact, they may be one and the same.
I just wanted to pass that on. Oh, by the way, you heard of Phyllis Schlafly?
No, can't say as I have.
She's a talk show sex therapist in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And it says here that she's brought up such subject like she talks about she has callers call in and tell what kind of noises they make and stuff why they're doing it and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And she tells about her experiences with her German Shepherd.
I think that's what Webb's doing this afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
What is German Shepherd?
No, what kind of noises do you make?
Really? Well, she talked about gold.
Yeah, I was going to do a poll. Would you stop making noises if it could add 3 years to your life?
You ready for this, Bob? This is the finisher. She masturbated to her own picture on the program.
Oh, really?
That's what it says, Bob.
Son of a gun. Things are getting hot in Chicago.
You know the press. Whatever. All right, Bob. Have a good day.
Okay.
Bob, you got the horn on hand?
Do I have the horn on hand?
Yeah.
What do you mean, the brain-damaged snowbird?
No, the other one, the halftime alarm. That one.
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. That's been disconnected.
Have a good one, Bob.
I'll try, Tommy.
Try to get some women to call in.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye-bye. If you're a woman and you would like to call in, there are lines available for you. 99 Clearwater High, you're on the air at WFLA. Jacob in Clearwater High, you're on the air at WFLA.
Mr. Lassiter?
Yes, Jacob.
You ought to be very happy about the stock market, aren't you?
Very happy about the stock market? Why should I?
I seem to remember someone like you saying you made a lot of money in the stock market.
No, I made a lot of money in the futures markets.
Oh, you didn't own Home Shopping Channel stock? Was that a lie?
But that was not a lie, but that's not where I made most of my money. When I was in the market, I made most of my money in corn and hogs.
Oh, most of your money.
Right.
so you just seem to conveniently turn that around and fit it.
No, not at all.
Oh, I see.
The Home Shopping Network stock was my wife's.
Oh, well, on the air you said it was yours, but...
No, I said that we profited from it and used it to buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said, Jacob.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And as for whether or not I'm happy about the stock market, I have every intention of taking advantage of the situation, Jacob. Does that make you happier still?
No, that's not the point.
Oh. Well, what's the point then, Jacob?
You've done nothing but deride this administration. Everything it's done.
That's correct, Jacob, because I believe everything it has done has been detrimental to the long-term well-being of the nation.
Well, there's something very wrong with you, Mr. Lassiter.
What's very wrong with me, Jacob?
I don't know, but I think you need a psychiatrist.
You don't know, but you know that there's something very wrong with me.
Yes,
I see.
and I also know that you're
How long
evil.
have you been clairvoyant, Jacob?
I also know that you're evil.
Evil? Whoa. Really, Jacob? What evil things do I do?
Well, you promote on the show anti-Christian.
No, I don't promote anti-Christian at all, Jacob. I call a spade when I see Christians being hypocrites. I have no problem whatsoever with pointing that out.
You get people like Phyllis Schlafly and the NFD guy on, and just make fun of them after they hang up.
No, I make fun of them while they're on, too. I would have been delighted to continue making fun of Phyllis Schlafly for another hour if she would have stayed on as she initially agreed to do.
Well, I didn't hear that she said she initially agreed to 2 hours, Mr. Lassiter.
Well, you'll just have to take my word for it. You know, like with the Home Shopping Network stock?
Uh-huh.
Which you took my word for.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Well...
And I believe I made quite a bit of fun of Phyllis to her face, if you will, over the phone.
No, you don't. You're all nice. Just like the guy from the...
I was all nice to her, Jacob?
Just like the guy from the 700 Club.
Uh-huh.
You were all condescending and starstruck.
Right, Jacob. Yes, I'm frequently starstruck.
Then the minute they hang up, all you do is just deride, hurl churlish insults at them.
No, I hurl the insults at them as a general rule of thumb when they are here as well.
Well, I think you ought to get help, Mr. Lassiter.
What kind of help do you think I should get, Jacob?
You could get Christian help.
Christian help? Oh.
You could go to workshops at Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a problem with that, Jacob. I'm not ready to surrender my mind to anyone. I prefer to keep control of it myself, thank you. I don't want anybody else thinking for me, Jacob. I do a good enough job myself.
That's debatable.
Perhaps you're not capable of thinking for yourself and you like to turn it over to someone else, but that just doesn't have any attraction or appeal to me.
Oh, I see. Well, on with the sex show, right? What are we going to do today?
I don't know, Jacob. What would you like to talk about in the way of sex?
Nuns?
Pardon?
Midget female lesbian nuns or what?
Is that what turns you on, Jacob?
Now, you and Donahue, what do you do? Watch Donahue show every morning and then...
No, I don't, Jacob.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. No, I don't. Sorry.
It sounds like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, no, Jacob, I'm usually here by 9:30, and I'm on the road between 9 and 9:30, so that would make it kind of impossible for me to watch the Donahue show.
Where do you get this stuff for all this sex? Yesterday you were there describing homosexual acts.
I was.
Mr. Lassiter?
I was? What did I say yesterday that was describing homosexual acts?
You seem to say that the rubbing of two penis together produces a good sensation, I believe you said. How would you know that, Mr. Lassiter?
Because rubbing your penis against anything that is soft would provide a good sensation.
No, you said
I believe you were the one who, if I'm not mistaken, yes, you did call yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did, and you were the one who seemed to know a great deal about
No.
homosexual acts.
You said it was two penises together.
Mm-hmm. And two vaginas.
No, you didn't say that.
Yes, I did.
No, play the tape.
I'm quite sure I did. Thank you, Jacob.
I'm not.
That's one of the benefits of having control of your own mind. You can remember what it is that you said.
No, you remember.
It's very difficult when you only have other people's words in your mind because then you're not sure what they're saying.
Lassiter.
No, I don't, Jacob. I have a very good memory. Thank you.
Very selective, I might add.
Uh-huh. Well, would you care to elaborate on that, Jacob?
We just went through that with the peni and the vagina.
Exactly. And we talked about both yesterday, you and I, because you're the one who's obsessed with it.
No, I didn't say it.
Uh-huh.
You took great...
No, you're the one that just keeps bringing it up. You're obviously the one that thinks about it.
You took great lengths.
How long have you been thinking about rubbing your penis with another man's penis?
You went to great lengths to say that it was two penises rubbed together produce a good sensation.
Well, how long have you been thinking about this, Jacob?
Since yesterday.
Since yesterday. I see.
And you?
I haven't been thinking about it, Jacob.
Oh, it just kind of came out.
Well, you're the one that brought it up.
Ah.
So you're the one that called yesterday and said that I was vividly describing homosexual acts. And
Yes,
as I recall, I asked you how you knew what they were.
You were describing them.
Because you seem to have a great deal more knowledge about it than I do. Well, you seem to have a great deal more knowledge about it than I do, Jacob.
That's wrong. You should not be discussing things like this on this radio show when children.
Well, then why do you keep bringing it up, Jacob?
And old women can listen to this.
Well, why do you keep bringing it up if you don't want it discussed? Nobody else brought it up today.
Well, I'm calling the FCC.
Would you like their number?
I have their number, Mr. Lassiter.
Would you like to give it out over the air for other people who might be so inclined?
Sure.
I'm waiting.
Let me look it up.
I thought you had it, Jacob. There we go. Another lie, Jacob.
I have it in my phone book, Mr. Lassiter.
Oh, I'll bet you do, Jacob.
Here we go again.
Oh, yes, another lie from Jacob, who just lays around all afternoon thinking about rubbing his penis against somebody else's penis and calling talk shows. Ah! Well, it's the stuff of good ratings. The other